meeting is being recorded.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. ORT Jet Cape Town empowers entrepreneurs in our community. We achieve this vision by focusing on our successful four-pronged approach: mentorship program, business networking, entrepreneurial training, and business talks and webinar series. Currently, 63% of the entrepreneurs engaging with ORT Jet are in service businesses, 69% are self-employed, and close to 60% are women. This number has grown significantly over the last 10 years as more and more women are starting their own businesses. Throughout August, we celebrated and acknowledged women in business, and tonight we continue with the spirit. We are going to hear from 4 dynamic, creative entrepreneurs and filmmakers. We have startup entrepreneurs and filmmakers, Jordy Sank and Gabriella Blumberg from Sanctuary Films. And we have well-established and seasoned entrepreneurs and filmmakers, Thal and Saskia Rosenberg Haak from the Star Film Company. Mazel tov to the Sanctuary team for receiving 3 Golden Horns at the South African Film and Television Awards for I Am Here. I Am Here is the extraordinary and inspiring story of Ella Blumenthal, a survivor of the Holocaust. Thank you for making this moving and ensuring the world never forgets. Jordy also took home the award for Emerging Filmmaker. This award goes to an up-and-coming South African filmmaker who is making big waves in the industry. Last year, they received the Jury Award for Best South African Documentary at the Durban International Film Festival. This is an Oscar-qualifying award. Congratulations to you both and your team. Adam has received numerous trophies and awards from festivals around the world. Aside for these accolades, Adam has been fortunate enough to produce work across the globe, from Los Angeles to Accra, Cairo to Cape Town, Moscow to Nairobi, and many more. The Star Film Company has also received many awards from the South African Best in Craft Awards. Adam, Saskia, and their team have global recognition for their contribution to the industry, and the Star Film Company is one of the top production companies in Africa. Before we start with our conversation, please understand that Nicole and I are not familiar with the film industry. We are feeling nervous, and we have prepared as best as we can for this session, but we appreciate your understanding and your patience. If you can all please keep your microphones on mute and pop your questions in the chat box, and we will address them at the end. I really hope you enjoy the conversation. Adam and Saskia, if I could start with you and you could kick off the conversation about Star Films. How did you start Star Films? What is the focus? And what has Star Films been doing for the last 19 years within the industry? Over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Lisa. That's quite an introduction. Normally, I must say, just to start off the bat, that as a producer, you never ever get credit, you never ever get fame. Whenever there's a problem, that's when your name comes up. So to hear the accolades and recognition that you've just given us as producers, our heads are, well, at least my head's already swollen. So can't get better. But thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. I'll give you a brief introduction of Star. We started the company. I started with my late business partner, Ryan Poole, in the year 2003. We started the company in our 4th year of film studies after the Film School of Johannesburg, which now has about 6 or 7 different branches around Southern Africa. And yeah, I remember very clearly Ryan and I getting our first job while we were in our producing lecture session, and we were counting the cash under the table, like really dodgy people. But we pulled off the job. It was amazing. And that was the beginning of our company. And we grew from there. We were two young, hungry producers that decided we would take on the commercial industry. And I'm sure later down the line, we'll discuss the difference between our companies and commercials and long form and all of that. But our focus with our company was to turn the commercial and music video industry upside down. And I won't go into the finer detail, but 19 years later, I think we managed to accomplish something with it. As you said in the introduction, we've shot productions all around the world. The most exciting thing about our industry is that it's not the mundane 9-to-5 office cubicle job. We get to explore the country, we get to explore the continent, we get to explore the world. We learn about every other industry that's out there through the films and commercials that we're making. So it's a really exciting industry. I'm not going to give it too much glamour. It is very stressful. We are saving the world one hamburger at a time, at least in our company. And yeah, so 19 years later, we now represent 9 commercial directors on the African continent. Some of them being, well, I'd like to say all of them being award-winning, incredibly talented young creatives. And we're only growing still. So I think it's exciting times. I think we're a very dynamic company that have changed what we need to change and put our stamp in the industry. And I must be honest, starting in 2003, I think Sas, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first job we hired Saskia as a producer in about 2012, which was quite a monstrous job. We can talk about it a bit later. But from that job, her and I were always discussing how she will eventually be my executive producer. And I'm so proud to say that for the last year and a half, she is my executive producer. And she's running this company along with myself like an incredible human being. So the Richard Branson quote, where hire people that are better than you, absolutely sticks in this industry. So I'm very proud, well, not in this industry, in this company. So I'm very proud to have Saskia as my EP with me along the way. Sas, I don't know if you want to add anything from your side.
No, I mean, now you've just ruined everything I was going to talk about. But I'll touch on Adam and my journey a little bit later. But yeah, it is, I think the thing about filmmaking is it's so exciting, and every day we learn something new, and if we're not learning, then we're kind of just stagnating, and that's not what we want to be about. So even just to watch what's happened to Star from when I first joined, where I still remember meeting Adam and thinking, oh, he's so divine. How come he's so successful? What did I do wrong? And then kind of over the last 9 years, watching what's happened to Star, how the business has grown and changed, and watching how Adam's grown and changed. Now, I mean, we might as well just be each other's PR department, but it's also been incredible and so proud to be part of it. And that is the beautiful thing that I think, hopefully you'll all get out of this, is the things we do and how there's this just constant opportunity for growth. And that's why it's so exciting. And I think why we all love it so much.
Thank you both. I love the fact that you both shared in this journey of growth and success together. And Adam, something you mentioned that really didn't come up in our prep for this was, which I'm so intrigued about, because I've actually got an event next week around game changers and disruptors and innovators. And you're saying that you guys have been disrupting the industry. So maybe for a minute or two, do you want to just share how how you've, sorry to put you on the spot, but how you've disrupted the industry a bit.
Yeah, I like to believe that through our studies, obviously I've been passionate about filmmaking forever, since primary school. And when we actually got into film school, we realized, I suppose as Jewish producers, that the money side of filmmaking is in advertising, at least in this country. So Ryan and myself, sorry, I didn't mention further, Ryan Poole was my business partner who founded the company with myself. He unfortunately passed away in a car accident in 2007. But the two of us in film school decided in our fourth year that we didn't want to go and work for the average or for any commercial production company at that time. And we found gaps and areas that we thought we could streamline and change the industry. I know it sounds a bit arrogant of me to say, but we were young and naive, and we thought, let's give it a bash. We had nothing to lose. We were already making some beautiful music videos, and we thought, let's turn this, like I said earlier, this commercials industry upside down. So we found the gaps, we found the areas that we thought needed adjustments or needed work. And let me tell you, it hasn't been an easy ride. I can tell you step by step about the first salary I paid myself of, I think, 3,000 Rand. And I was extremely proud to sign a check for the first time. I know checks don't exist anymore, but there's been some exciting, some stressful, some emotional times in the business, but without knowing or divulging too much into the actual commercial production space, we've managed to change things that a lot of production houses have followed since then.
Thank you, Adam. Very fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Jordy and Gabriella, if I can move over to you. Firstly, I have to ask you, how are you feeling after the SAFTAs and your unbelievable awards that you've just received? Jordy?
Yeah, we feel incredible. It really is just you know, so monumentous for us in our careers at this current stage, and I think also Gabi and I, we didn't really expect it. I think for us to be nominated was just such a massive achievement, and we were up against some real incredible documentaries, but also some industry professionals that have been in the industry and who we really looked up to for many, many years. So to be nominated alongside them was incredible, but then to actually take home some of the prizes, we were, we actually just couldn't believe it. I think we still kind of trying to process.
I think we haven't processed it.
Yeah. Feels surreal.
I think just to because he's going to speak a lot about I Am Here, the film that we made, and I think that what we've found remarkable about these awards is that they've celebrated such a story that's very open about Judaism and faith, and that Ella's message, which is why we wanted to film her, has just resonated across the globe. It's a message of faith in humanity despite going through one of history's darkest periods, and it's a message of taking time to speak to people that are different to you, and it's a message of love and positivity and hope. So I think it really is just a testament to how her message has continued to resonate with people, and it's the importance, I suppose, of making a documentary of a subject that you love and you hope you want other people to meet.
Absolutely. So staying with you both, won't you tell us how Sanctuary Films started? How did the collaboration evolve, develop, and then perhaps touch on the conception of your project, I Am Here, which has been received with tremendous applause and gratitude from our community and beyond South Africa. So perhaps Jordy and Gabriella, you can just share the conversation and tell us.
Yeah, so I think both those things, our company actually started with I Am Here, and I think it was, Adam also mentioned when he was young, him and his business partner were a little naive, and I think that's really where our company started. I had this idea for a documentary with Ella Blumenthal, who I was so lucky to grow up alongside in Cape Town, and I approached Gabi, who just finished her master's degree at the Met Film School in London, and she just came back to South Africa, and I told her about this project, and we actually thought it was going to be a very short project, like a 3-4 month project, and like throw ourselves at this beautiful passion project. And so we created Sanctuary Films in order to get this project made, and then the project landed up taking a lot longer and a lot more energy than we ever anticipated. So that was really the birth of Sanctuary Films, and I think, and this beautiful partnership that Gabi and I have. And I think through working on this documentary so closely together through those 2 years, we really honed in on what type of stories we as filmmakers want to tell, and yeah, we try to build the company's vision towards making those types of movies.
For once, I have nothing to add. No, Jordy really just summed it up so beautifully in terms of how we started, because it was to make this film, and it was quite unusual for me because I just finished studying, as Jordy mentioned, so I had been in the producer's role on short films, but primarily I had studied directing and had been more involved in the creative side. So when Jordy said, "Can I produce?" I was like, "Sure, I'll produce a short film. We'll interview Ella, we'll get her testimony, we'll edit it together, and then we'll have this film done in a few months." Little did I know, as Jordy said, that we would actually take 2 years to make the film, and it wouldn't be a testimony, it would be a creative feature documentary that then we were making meetings with sales agents and distributors and doing more of the big production work, which is actually selling a film and getting it seen by the widest audience. So as Jordy said, we both really were just learning on the ground in terms of how to make such a long form project. We had both worked in short films, and Jordy has experience also in commercials. So we didn't know about making a feature film, all the different moving parts. And then we really learned a lot about the business side of it in terms of getting so many people on board, because it's a feature, the length of it, and then selling it and getting it seen.
Great. You touched on the business side of filmmaking, which I actually wanted to ask Adam. Can you talk about the business side of filmmaking?
Sure. It's a bit of a hard one because I think Jordy and Gabriella are probably more experienced than me in this situation. But the business side of filmmaking it's quite an interesting one, because there's so many facets to the industry and the roots or kind of journey that you take within the industry. So just for example, our company, the Star Film Company, focus on 3 minutes and less in terms of the final delivery of product. Whereas Jordy and Gabriella focus on, please correct me if I'm wrong, but 60 minutes and more. So it's quite a vast difference, and the business side of it is completely different, which I've recently just learned about because we've just sold our first film to Amazon. But the business side of it is like running any business. There's ups and downs, the entrepreneurship, the the stresses, the joys, everything about it is amazing. But in film production, the advertising side of it, the differences basically is that advertising agencies and clients are the people that pay us to make their beautiful commercials, which I said earlier in the conversation, which will sell a hamburger. And we track our success on how many hamburgers we've sold. Whereas the long form production side of the business is where your film is flighting, how many years it's flighting on that platform, how many territories it's flighting in around the world. And it's a lot of a different structure. I wouldn't say one is easier or harder than the other. They're very, very different. But the business side of it is actually really intricate, and I'm not sure how to kind of explain it to you in 30 seconds. Maybe Gabriella or Jordy, you can add in from your side of things. But as my lecturer in third year of film school, his name was Dion Opperman, a really successful theatre producer, and he was one of the founders of After Film School. He mentioned to me, which for some reason, and don't ask me why, but has always stuck in my head, that business in show business is double the amount of letters as show. And I really took that to heart, because it is a business, and it's the same as your venture capitalists, it's the same as your lawyers, it's the same as your accountants. And I think the one thing, if there are any young Jewish kids on this webinar, to understand and take from this is that we're very much a business that's as playable and as lucrative and as successful as any other industry out there. So the business side of it is really important. It's really strategic. And yeah, I think I'm blabbing on a bit too much here. Maybe someone else wants to jump in.
Jordy, do you have anything to add?
I think just something small to add. It pertains to our company. Firstly, I think I just need to also put it out there that that Adam and Saskia are two producers in the industry that Gabi and I often come to for advice and mentorship, and who we really look up to. So I think, you know, for us, it's been incredible to find those mentors and people to help us really push our business forward. And I think just one more note on the business side of filmmaking is the model that Gabi and I have taken to this point is that, you know, Ella Blumenthal's story and the documentary was a story that just had to be told. Ella was turning 98 at the time, and we really just thought it's now or never. And thank God she's still incredible, and she's 101 years old now. But at the time we had to jump at that opportunity. And now what Gabi and I have been doing is we've actually transitioned a little bit back to doing shorter narrative pieces. Like we just did last year a 25-minute narrative piece for CakeNet, and now in 2 weeks' time we're shooting another 25-minute narrative piece for CakeNet, because it's a fantastic opportunity and stepping stone to get the industry to look at our work, and to get a big broadcaster like MultiChoice to hopefully invest in our feature projects that we're so passionate about getting off the ground. So yeah, I think just from the business side of filmmaking, we've been trying to really just build ourselves from smaller projects to larger projects.
Excellent, thank you.
If I may just kind of combine Adam's point and Jordy's point, is while, you know, as Adam's saying, there's, you know, we doing this as a career, it's not just a hobby. So there is the importance of earning money and selling a product. But what you know, what we've started off doing, especially as independent filmmakers trying to get into making feature films, is often when we look at our projects or what we're taking on next, you kind of have to think, is this something that you're making? And I suppose you've got to balance it overall, but you're making something to like, what are the priority levels? Are you earning a lot of money on this project, but it's not something that creatively you're so invested in? You just kind of getting a service done. A lot of our projects that we've been doing has been, as Jordy's saying, kind of climbing the ladder to break into a space where people can, or investors can trust that we've got like a proof of completion, that we can complete something, but also a clear style and voice, and can deliver something at a high standard. So sometimes in the independent world, you've got to take on projects that are maybe a very low budget, but so that you can prove yourself and your company, and as Jordy's saying, network and get them the next commission that will actually make the company money. So, you know, as Adam said, it's a long, difficult road, but you have to believe in your team and in the project that you're doing, to have that motivation to get up every day and continue making it the best possible film that it can be.
100%. Thank you. Saskia, coming over to you. You've been in the industry, well, you've had 20 years experience, and quite an interesting journey. I believe you started as a wardrobe assistant, and now, as mentioned, you're an executive producer. Please, can you share some of the insights about your experience and how you climbed the ladder in this very competitive industry?
So everyone that works under me always hears the same story. So I studied fashion design, and that was my complete passion, and I wanted to be a stylist. And during my third year at Lysoff, I did an internship at Elle magazine, and then I landed my dream job, like fresh out of college. And then my fashion editor left, and I had to go with her, and I didn't know what I was going to do next. And, you know, again, trying to explain to your family that you're studying fashion design comes with like a lot of questions, and no one really thinks you're going to make it. So somebody suggested I try and go and do wardrobe on a film set. And I was like, okay, this sounds like fun. And I'll never forget my first day on set. You know, in the fashion world back then, we'd like really dress up for work every day. And I arrived on set, it was at Gold Reef City, in a pair of kitten heels and this really like elaborate over the top shirt with a bow. And I was sitting in my car waiting because I was quite early, and I saw what we call the crafts and the buffet table, because we eat like kings on set. And I thought, geez, this could be quite fun. Look how these people eat. I'd come from this world of sandwiches and Diet Cokes, and then there was just this spread. And I walked onto set, and I realized, like, I just got completely like swept up in it. There were all these people, and it was busy, and it was exciting. And I'd never thought that this really existed. It's kind of like what you saw in the movies. And there were all these like big strapping grips and lighting guys. And I ended up marrying one of those amazing lighting guys who I met on set. And I just thought, this looks really interesting anyway. So I started doing wardrobe assisting, and I was very cheeky and very outspoken. And it was on my first commercial that actually the director decided that he wanted 30 extras and he needed a whole bunch of stuff done. And I was 21, and I phoned my friends and I organized a whole bunch of stuff. And the producer at the time on that job came to me and said, oh, you know, you've got like something quite interesting. Have you ever thought of going into production? And I was like, no, I do fashion. That's my thing. And I did another job, and a similar thing happened, and I was asked again. And I wasn't very busy at the time, and I was still working a part-time job. And I thought, well, let me give it a go. So I went into a production company at the time called Terraplane, and I started then cast coordinating which basically back then, the directors would tell me who they were looking for, and I would hit the streets and I would go randomly up to people and say, hi, do you want to be in our advert? And my funniest experience was actually, I don't know if all of you remember, I think some of you are too young, but those, oh gosh, and I've just forgotten, but those ones where you randomly go and ask people if you can wash their hair. And it was like that. And a lot of people didn't take me seriously, and their parents would phone me and say, what are you really doing? And already then I started seeing like you have to be super tough because people just think you're a fraud. Anyway, I flitted between a bit of production and a bit of wardrobe. And one of the crew said to me, and he was like an old ex-army kind of guy, and he said to me, you know, girlie, none of us will ever take you seriously if you're just flitting around. And I thought where my future could lie. And I didn't necessarily want to be styling people for the rest of my life. And I quite liked their idea of being the boss on set and telling everyone what to do. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this production thing a go. And that was really like a life-changing moment where I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Anyway, I worked for a few months and then I decided to go to the UK, like everyone does, and go get a little bit of life experience. And I was there for a couple of weeks and I thought, what am I doing? I've just discovered this amazing industry. This is where I really want to be. So 6 months later, I came home and my parents said to me, we'll give you 3 months. You can stay and you don't have to do anything else. Focus on this. But if you can't get this right in 3 months, you're going to have to find a real job. And the thought of having to find a real job was not even an option for me. And I went into it full throttle. And there was nothing I didn't do. I even was in the art department for a bit, but always this kind of like hankering towards production. So I started out then as a production coordinator, and I just worked like a dog. There was nothing that I said no to. And I often worked for free. So I was lucky because I could work for free because I was still living at home and I had another part-time job. And I know that isn't an option for a lot of people, but internships, showing people how dedicated you were, was like a no-brainer for me. And then finally, I really started getting booked on jobs. Did coordinating, and then somebody said to me, okay, you're ready to production manage. And I said, don't be crazy. And it was one person who believed in me. And that's when I realized, actually, that's all you need, like in life. You just need one person to think you can do it. Started production managing, did that for a few years, and then started setting myself some real goals and said, okay, by the time I'm 30, I have to produce. I'm now 41. So at about 28, I produced then my first commercial, because it was also quite different back then. And I followed a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very safe journey. Whereas Adam went in full throttle, Jordy and Gabi, and they just did the things. I was told this is how you have to do it. And that's, I guess, how I did it. And the first commercial I produced, we won a gold at Cannes. It was an amazing job for Power. And then there was kind of like no turning back. I freelanced for a very long time. Worked also, wasn't married yet, didn't have a child, so traveled around. It's pretty much nowhere in Africa I haven't been, shot in the UK, and just worked with incredible creatives. And I think every day, the love just grew more and more. And again, as everyone said, it's not an easy industry. It is so hard. But I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. And then I went and I did season in Cape Town, which is an amazing experience because that's where we get to work with internationals. And I realized like this world is just endless. So basically, I think, let me take a step back. As Adam said, I did a job with him and I was blown away. I thought, look at this bunch of youngsters, they're all my age. They're getting these huge commercials. And at that stage, I think that was our biggest ad at the time. And Adam called me in. I'll tell all of you that he offered me far too much money for what I was doing. And I thought, oh, look at this. He's just throwing the money at me. I mean, I can't lose. But I was also quite inexperienced. So I sold myself really well, convinced him to hire me. And that was that. Anyway, we spoke. I freelanced here and there for him. And then I got a full-time job. I got married, had my daughter, and was offered a full-time job at another amazing production house, where I finally started learning the business side of things. And being in a company, which is something that most of us don't get to experience because it is a freelance industry, really saw how things worked. And that was also over COVID. And then after COVID, I got retrenched and I was completely shocked. And the first thing I did, well, firstly, I cried. I thought, how will I ever bounce back from this? And I was in Cape Town at the time, and I went to my hotel room and I thought, okay, you've cried. Now you need to earn some money. And the first call was to Adam. And I said, I'm free again. Like, can we make something work? And we met and we chatted. And then finally, a few months later, the opportunity presented itself. And I was offered literally my dream job as exec at Star. And initially, I didn't think that's what Adam was offering me. I thought I was just going to be one of his producers. So I was blown away. And, you know, I think it teaches us from bad things, amazing things can kind of happen. I think, though, being a female in this industry is incredibly difficult. Lisa, do you want to ask me something? I see your hands up.
I'm clapping.
Oh, thanks.
Mazel tov.
So then, being a woman in this industry is hard, and I don't need to speak about how hard it is to be a woman in any industry, but 20 years ago, it was also incredibly different. It was super male-centric. It was a different way of thinking. The misogyny and the patriarchy was insane, and we had a completely different generation kind of running the industry. It was the guys that had really started it in South Africa, and you had to prove yourself if anyone was going to take you seriously. But what I also learned was however tough you needed to be, and you need to be super tough to be a producer, work in production, or really do anything in our industry, was that I could also use my femininity to my advantage. And I think to this day, that's something that's really amazing. You can still be hard, you can still be tough, but there's something that a woman can bring, an edge of softness, of care and love. And that's what I really do, I think, to everyone that I work with. So it's been hard, and I faced a lot of obstacles, and we didn't have the movements in the early 2000s protecting women, and lots of awful things happened to me. But then I created like a little black book in my head of all the people that had done me wrong, and that made me more hungry to prove them wrong. And my girls will all tell you, because that black book still exists. But it's been amazing to show people that couldn't get me down, and that you know, it's very interesting. And I think as a society we do this, but we don't treat people at the bottom very well, because we think they can't offer us anything. And to this day, and it's also something I've learned from all my mentors and the amazing people who have trained me and who I've worked for and who are now my friends and like my biggest supports, and some of them are on this call. Ashley, I love you. But just to prove people wrong, to stand your ground, and always to have integrity and fairness. And I think that's also what's maybe gotten me here, is I've always been fair. I've always held onto my integrity and what I believe. And yeah, now I'm literally like living my dream. And I think we all have dreams, and the film industry, what's so beautiful is it's endless. The possibilities are endless. It's changing every day. But I think just to stand your ground, stand strong, and be passionate, and then you can like pretty much never, ever go wrong. And just to also accept the hardships, because there are a lot of them, but the beauty is nothing is forever. So if you're unhappy and if you're feeling stagnant, you can just move on and recreate yourself. And in any creative environment, that's what's so great, is we can. It's like the world is our oyster, and we can be whatever really we want to be. So yeah, that's my journey.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
Yay to you. I was making notes when you were talking, and I put it in the chat box, so please excuse me. I wanted to just go back to 2 points that you mentioned. You said about it not being a real job. Do people still feel that way?
Totally. And And, you know, it's so interesting because I'm just going to be completely honest. A lot of my family had signed up, and I was really excited because I thought maybe if they hear me on this forum, they can know that it's like real and see other people that do it. And it's quite hard to understand for the common man. But it doesn't feel like a real job. I think because maybe some other jobs, you know, and I hear from my friends or I've seen in people in corporate, they get up every day, they do what they need to, they come home. But this does, and our families will vouch for this, it overlaps into our lives a lot, but it never feels like a job because it's just really fun and really good, and every day is different. And I also have to say, you know, a big thing about what we do, as Gabi and Jordy also said, is having great people on your team. So we, and Adam and I speak about this all the time, we are nothing without our producers, our production team, and our crew. I am nothing without the support of my husband, who's also in the industry, but allows me to do this. Because let me tell you, like, that phone never stops. And having a partner that gets it is incredible. But the beautiful thing about the industry, and like anything, there are lots of really horrible people, but there's this community, and there's this people who we all have a common goal. And when we work together, what we can achieve is just mind-blowing. And after every shoot, I just walk away and I think, I don't know how we did it, but we did. And it was just because everyone had this common goal in their head. So, yeah.
So true.
But some of them think it's a real job. At least I've got, like, you know, things to show, like a home and a car, and I guess things like this, which are really great. And as Adam said, we never get recognition. So it is quite appreciated.
Great, great. Moving over to Gabriella. I wanted to ask you, Sanctuary wants to create a USP in the industry. What is that USP, and how would you define it?
Sure. Firstly, I'm just so inspired from Saskia's talk. I can just sit and listen all day.
I know you can. I got away with it.
And it's just also speaking now, just, yeah, it's just making me think I will answer your question, but Saskia just made me think a lot about, you know, we're in pre-production now on a short film, and it just feels so impossible because every day there's some actor that's dropping out, or location that's charging too much, but there's what Saskia, what you ended with now about everyone being on set, having this common goal. There's nothing more powerful than that, because everyone puts their talents and their energy into creating magic. And you actually, the most beautiful thing about this industry is you have a product that hopefully you're proud of to show for your efforts at the end of it. You can actually see like that blood, sweat, and tears paying off. And also when you're doing a project that you believe in, you also find phenomenal people who will whether they are crew members and fellow creatives, or what happened to us recently, somebody who has a house that's letting us film there just because he believes in the project. And I think that actually answers your question about our unique selling point, which is that we rarely take things on that we believe in, and we create, and our goals are to continue to create films that are the catalyst for conversations about important subject matter, that will break stigma. You know, we just made the two films that we've worked on together. The one, obviously we've spoken about, I Am Here, is the remarkable story of a Holocaust survivor, which has started many a conversation in communities that maybe don't know about what the Holocaust was, but very interesting conversations about trauma, overcoming trauma, how one can still have faith in humanity, how one can, you know, Ella speaks about forgiving and not holding grudges. So how a person who's been through a genocide can have that opinion. And we've seen that really create not just inspiration, but people making real changes in their lives after watching it. We then made an Afrikaans short film, which was fictional, but it was about isolation and grief. It's about an 80-year-old woman who loses her husband. So, you know, the kind of conversations about that. And now we're doing a project that speaks about genetic mutations, the BRCA gene specifically, which is something in the Ashkenazi Jewish community is a very high mutation and results in increased risk of breast cancer. So even though it's a fictional story and actually we're filming it in Afrikaans, it's something that's very vulnerable, personal, and we hope we'll be starting new conversations. The gene is also quite common in the Afrikaans community, which is why it's a relevant film in that space. So I think our unique selling point is that we will continue to bring on talented team members, but to create stories that we really hope will have impact. Yeah.
Thanks, Gabriella. That's amazing that you guys are contributing in that meaningful way, because it becomes the narrative, it becomes the conversation around the dinner table so that everyone can learn and understand the past, the present, and the future, what's going to happen. Jordy, as you know, I think you know quite a lot about ORT Jet and what we do, and that a lot of our focus is around mentorship and guidance and support to people running their own businesses. You did allude to it earlier that Saskia and Adam have kind of filled this role for you in your journey. But could you maybe tap into that a little bit more and just share with us how mentors have offered guidance and support on your journey, and how's it benefited you, this interaction and engagement?
So yeah, I think for us, it really, we were quite surprised, because there's actually, I think, a misconception, especially in the South African film industry, where, you know, especially when you're young and up and coming, you think that these big, you know, you'll never get an answer from these big producers, and you know, if you're going to reach out to mentorship, it's going to be met with a cold email or no response to an email or a phone call. But what Gabi and I have already found is, on the contrary, I would say really 80% of the people that we probably reach out to have responded with such warmth and, you know, a love for filmmaking and trying to nurture young and up and coming producers and talent, that, you know, we've had the most incredible meetings, even if it's virtually, with the most incredible people around the world. And people are just really willing to give up their time. So a lot of the questions and a lot of the things we reach out for is, you know, advice surrounding strategy, or about how do we pitch our films to a certain market or a certain distributor. But you know, incredibly, what a lot of people have also given to us, especially when they believe in either ourselves or the incredible messages behind some of the projects that we're working on, is they are willing to give us amazing resources, either at a reduced rate or for free. For instance, I'll give you an example that pertains to Adam and Saskia. I met with Adam for a coffee. It must have been sometime at the beginning of this year, and you know, I was chatting to him about strategy and some of the upcoming projects we were working on, and he gave me keys to the offices at Star Films and said, when we're not in hectic production on any project, here are keys, let yourself in, and you can work from the boardroom whenever there's not a meeting there. So, you know, it's finding incredible people and mentors who really believe in you, but and who, you know, I think it's a dream for Gabi and I to work on future projects with Adam and Saskia, and we look forward to making that happen hopefully soon.
That is unbelievable. Wow.
Can I just add one word to that?
Sure.
I think in my 19 years of running my business, my proudest credit that I've received is the special thanks on their film about Ella.
And I'd like to just say that I don't even have keys to the office. I have a remote. So Jordy and Gabby, I'm just saying,
Sorry.
I'll you guys, you're not gonna like kick me out, okay?
I just want to ask the audience, is the chat box working? Because someone has just messaged me privately on WhatsApp to say that they can't. So if someone wanted to send a test through, because we'd love to hear from you, if anyone would like to ask any questions. So just send it.
It says that the chat's disabled.
Okay, I'll try sort that out. Over to you, Nicole.
I just wanted to say, looking forward to future projects with both of you, well, with all of you in both companies. So in preparation for this conversation, Adam and Saskia, you explained to us how Star Films is actively giving back in the industry. Can you please explain how this is part of your narrative and what you are doing?
Sure. So I'll start with the one element and then maybe Saskia can take over so we can share the load. So I mentioned earlier in our conversation that my late business partner, Ryan, passed away in 2007. And it was one of the big kind of turning points in my business career and in running the company, as in, oh no, do I close down or what do I do? And cut a long story short, we kept the company going, and Ryan was always one of the most important players in my business career. And his kind of passion for filmmaking and running our business was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it since. And so one of the scenarios that we've been doing is we feel that there are a lot of kids or students out there that can't afford to continue with their studies at film school. So we've taken it in our hands along, I must say, driven by the Poole family, that we do a scholarship annually for a third-year film student that is unable to pay for their tuition for their fourth-year honors year. And so every year we go through a whole bunch of interviews of candidates that require it or candidates that live up to Ryan's aura or soul. And we try and give back in that instance. That's one of the areas where we give back, is where we give a part scholarship to their fourth year. And then as Star, as a company, we offer them a scholarship or an internship, sorry, not a scholarship, an internship within our business the next year after they've graduated. Not many people have taken us up on the internship, because everyone that goes to AFTA is ready to create their own business. But I must say that there's probably been about 5 or 6 candidates that we've given scholarships to that have created such a name for themselves in this industry. It's quite an amazing fate to kind of be part of. So we're still doing that every year with the Poole family. And yeah, we hope to do it as often as, or as long as we can. And there are a few other initiatives, but I think I'll give Saskia time to speak.
Okay, I'm aware of time. I won't babble. So one of our directors, Cindy Lee, who is an incredible director, a hell of a feminist, she started a program called Shadow Us. And what Shadow Us is, it's for women only, to have opportunity to shadow her or shadow anyone in our team, from basically the treatment. So a treatment is when we get given a concept and we pitch on it, to every aspect of kind of like going through to shoot and post-production. Because what we find is there is like really a shortage, especially of like female directors coming up in the industry, and female directors of color who don't have the same advantages necessarily, and whose parents can't maybe send them to a place like AFTA, which we know is super expensive. So basically how that works is people reach out to Cindy, give a bit of a biography, say what their love is, and then we bring them on and we mentor them. Some of them have been dismal failures when they've realized how hard it is, but others have really done amazing things and are still in the industry. And yeah, so it's spearheaded by Cindy, but with all of us getting involved, but a really amazing initiative for women who just don't get an opportunity. So, and in saying that, you know, it's wonderful to study, and I really think everyone should study something, but a lot of our industry is really what you learn on set. So even if you haven't had a chance to study before, but you've got that passion, it lets you get a foot in the door. And if we see potential, then we're able to take that further. So that's the other project, which is Shadow Us.
It's amazing. Well done. It's really fantastic. Jordy and Gabriella, what advice would you give to up-and-coming students and how to break into the industry?
You want to start, Gab?
I think that the biggest thing, you know, as Jordy said, was ask for help when you're stuck. And people, you'll be surprised at who reaches out with solutions. There's no, I think when you go in, you think you're meant to know everything and you don't understand how everyone else knows what's happening, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel completely with some of the systems, and somebody's done it before and can just guide you on the first steps. So it's about asking for advice. I think it's also just about starting. It's never about the budget and the equipment. It's just about the people and the idea. So don't wait to get, you know, this $1 million budget to create your story. If you want to, if you're a storyteller, shoot something on your phone and just begin with like-minded people and submit it to a film festival. And I think it's also about kind of taking time to figure out the industry. Like, as I said, when we started, we didn't really understand how film festivals worked, or script writing competitions, getting things commissioned. We didn't understand how any of it worked. And I think a big thing for us was going to the Durban International Film Festival. They run a film market alongside it. And we went when we had just started filming the documentary about Ella. And we just emailed so many people and set up meetings, showed them some first cuts of the film. And we learned a lot about, you know, it was from there that we actually thought this can be a feature documentary. This can go to festivals. This is something that can be screened in a cinema or sit on video on demand platforms. This is something that can have educational impact. And we only knew about those possibilities because we went and sat in talks and learned. So always keep an open mind and learn. And if you don't know the answer, ask for help. And I've put our website in we definitely don't know everything, but if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on the website, and we'll help you through, you know, our experience of some of the things we've made. We're very happy to share advice on that. Jules, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I think we've spoken about mentorship, but I think just finding also the right partners to work with. You know, me working with Gabi on all projects that we've made to date has just been the most incredible partnership. But I think just across the board, you know, all the different team members we've had on projects, and even just the companies, you know, also speaking to Star Films for advice has just been the most incredible experience. So I think it's really important when you're starting out to find the right partners and the right partnerships. I'll give you an example. A previous advertising company that I used to work for, when I told them I was resigning, told me that they don't think that I can work in, you know, in the South African film space. So, you know, that was just a terrible partnership. But I think, you know, finding other people who believe in me and believe in the stories that I'm wanting to tell and help me grow, you know, those are the worthwhile people going on this journey with. So, and then one other thing for people who are upcoming filmmakers and dreamers is I think there's fantastic initiatives in South Africa, whether it's through the Durban Film Festival with Durban Talents, or you know, the NFVF for funding, and there's, you know, across the board there's a whole bunch of initiatives that grow and nurture filmmaking talent, and you know, help you get the skills, help you try and get the funding. So I really think that you have to jump in at those world and to that world, and to really hone in on these incredible spaces that we have to grow up and coming talent in South Africa.
That's great, thank you. Quite mindful of the time, so I'm going to ask a question from Di Rosen. CakeNet budgets are generally low. How do you manage to keep a high standard of quality within the budget given?
Yeah, good question. Let me know when you find the answer. So the projects that we've been doing through CakeNet have been through the they have a program where for the Silver Scare and Fierce, the film festival that they commission, where every year they take, you know, the people apply and send in scripts, and then they choose. I think this year there were over 200 scripts that were submitted, and then they choose. I think this year they chose 14 scripts that they commission. You are correct. The budgets really are nominal. The way that we make it work is we know that we won't. We will make sure that there's a good standard because it has our name on it. And that's something that we won't compromise on. So we won't compromise on story, won't compromise on standard. So I think it goes to what Adam and Saskia also said earlier about surrounding yourself with talented people and that believe in your message. And that's how we've managed to get good people who will come on board at lower rates. And the other way that it works with CakeNet, and can actually work if you do things independently also, is to do different types of deals. With CakeNet, they'll do what's called a barter deal. So if somebody gives you, for example, equipment free of charge, then you'll advertise their company in the film festival magazine or in their logo, the logos, the end credits, and also with CakeNet, the films go on Showmax. So there's a big exposure component. Exposure definitely does not pay rent, but some companies will come on board for their logos being on the project. So it's finding people that believe in it. And I think it's also acknowledging that the budget's small. So when you're asking someone to come on board, being very clear, this is the budget, there actually isn't any leeway. So you know, when we speak to people, we'll say, so if you can come on board for the budget, please just be clear with us, like these are our expectations, so you can be clear with us on how much time and capacity you have to give to the project, knowing what the budget is, and then really respecting that, because you can't expect someone to come on board for a quarter of their rate and then call them at any time in the night. So I think it's about having expectations really clear and bringing on board people that believe in the project.
Thank you. That was a great question. And there have been unbelievable comments in the chat box. And we've run out of time, but in closing, what does the future look like for Sanctuary and for Star Films?
Adam, I don't know if you want to start, or otherwise I'm happy to jump in.
Take it away, George.
So at the moment, where Sanctuary is, we still busy at the moment selling the rights around the world to our documentary project I'm Here, and then we have about 3 or 4 other projects on the go in different stages of development and funding. One is a project that we're pitching to CakeNet Showmax, and the other project is one that we received from a government body called the National Film and Video Foundation, where they've given certain amounts of money to us developing a limited TV series to do a pilot episode. So yeah, we really are in a great space, and we really just pushing to develop further projects and stories that really are just begging to be told.
Cool. From our side, I'll jump in here. We are very much still aligned in taking over the commercial space, both locally and internationally. We've just recently finished 2 international service productions for some big clients, which Saskia has headed up, which is quite exciting. So it's a nice new venture we're taking on. And for anyone that has Amazon Prime, we've sold our first feature film to them. So we're slowly trying to dabble into sanctuary space, still staying partners and friends, no competition. But yeah, so we're quite exciting. We've got The Fury, which is officially live and public on Amazon Prime, and so far getting some great reviews. We're in post-production as a co-production on the life story of Sia Khaleesi, which is a documentary, which will hopefully be out beginning first quarter of next year. And yeah, we're just trying to keep our mark in this industry and have fun while we're doing it.
That's an important point. Have fun while doing it.
Can I just actually jump in? I have to just comment on something that someone's put in the comments, because I'd be remiss if we didn't have some sort of Jewish geography going on here. But Adam, I've just found out that your mother-in-law, Ingrid Gordon, was my first grade teacher. So yeah, just that Jewish network and the connection, it's incredible. Wow.
She tells me that every single day, George.
No, it's incredible. It's news to me. I didn't realize. Wow.
Yeah, amazing connections. We always seem to find one. Right. Saskia, Adam, Gabriella, Jordy, it really has been fascinating chatting to you and hearing about your company's journeys and successes. Thank you for inspiring and encouraging us. I've learned a great deal about the filmmaking industry and the business of filmmaking, so thank you. And I'm sure everyone else feels the same. We wish you lots of luck on your upcoming projects. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next event, and hope you have a good evening.
Thank you very much. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.